Hey everyone, welcome to Emmy Lou Arts. I am here to show you how to make a journal when you've never done it before, you're starting from scratch, and you have no art supplies. This is a hard situation to be in when you see a bunch of pretty things being made online and you don't know how to do it and you don't have anything. So I'm going to take you where it all begins, to Michael's. And first, we're going to see what you can buy with actually very little money, and you can make a journal and you can do whatever you want with it, and it's not a big investment, so you can see if you like it, and if you do, then you can continue and you can invest in more fun things. Let me just warn you, it gets kind of addictive. If you don't, you're out pretty much nothing. So these washi tapes I picked out at the dollar bin section at Michael's by the checkout, and they were 33 cents a piece times 4. That little ink pad was also in special. It was $2. Each of those pieces of scrapbook paper were 79 cents. And the big ticket item was this stencil stamp set, which was 11 something. We'll round up to 12. And there I had a 50% off coupon. So there's my receipt. You can tell I paid 14 something for all of that stuff. Now, if you had acrylic paint at home, you could use what you have. If you had washi tape, obviously stencils, then this is all free. I'm just showing you how to do it. This is for people that don't have anything and you're starting from absolute zero. So I'm cutting open these acrylic paints. Craftsmart is the cheapest, I think the cheapest brand they have. It's like the Michael's brand, but it works. You're not, Van Gogh. We're just making a little journal here. I kind of tried to stick with a color theme. You can see there's like kind of magentas and teals and purples. And right at my Michael's, there is a Dollar Tree right next door. So I ran next door and got this envelope, this packet full of envelopes, like mailing envelopes. And it was $1. And I'm going to use that as a cover. I've done this several times before and it works really well, and I like that you can stick things in the little pocket in the front or the back, wherever you decide to have it. And since it's a pack, you'll have covers to make journals until your heart's content. Or to mail something if you have to do that. And I encourage you to look around at the Dollar Tree because they have a section of books and workbooks and stuff like that that you can look at, and obviously everything's $1, and see if anything tickles your fancy. When you're starting to make a journal, you have to ask yourself what makes you happy, what inspires you, because you want to put that stuff in your journal. You want to make that the basis of what you're going to add things to. And I love art, I love hand lettering, stuff like that. So I bought this little workbook, and I'm going to use pages from that in my journal. And it doesn't matter if this journal is going to be about art. It doesn't matter what it's going to be for. Just choose things that you like. You could also go to Goodwill and get a gardening book or a cookbook and use pages out of that. Now these pages I'm showing you are just pieces of paper I walked around my house and I picked up off the desk, half-drawn pictures that the kids drew in their playroom, just things that were sitting around. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be anything. They're just pieces of paper that I found sitting around my house. You could use computer printer paper, or graph paper, any kind of paper. It does not even matter. We're making kind of a hybrid art junk journal. So take it from me when I add junk. This is a piece of wax paper, wax like baking paper, that I had used for a painting project, and I'm also going to throw that in there. The next step that I want you to do when you've collected all of your papers, your junk papers, your junk mail, you can use junk mail as well. That works beautifully. Get a plate or something and just slap some of your acrylic paints on there, and I want you to go through your pile of papers, and I just want you to throw paint on them. Don't think about it. don't make any rhyme or reason, just empty your brain and throw paint on it. You don't even need a paintbrush if you have an old gift card or something like that. That makes it really slick and easy. Now, I just tear off pieces of baking paper that I had and I put them in between my pieces so that they don't stick together as they dry. But if you've got like a kitchen table that you can, set them all out on, then by all means go ahead and do that. I don't have the luxury right now, but I'm just slapping paint on. No rhyme, no reason. This is just to add interest to your journal. It's almost the beginning, if you've ever made a journal or done any art, it's kind of the beginning steps of journaling by fives, which is a way of making an art journal by following 5 steps. Like first you add paint to all your papers, and then you add stamps and stencils, and then you add I can't remember. Then you add like words or collage, stuff like that. And then when you're done, you have a really cool kind of art journal. So this is a hybrid junk art journal. So we're getting into those pages that I ripped out of the hand lettering notebook, and I'm just smearing paint on with the card, with my fingers. Just go at it and have fun. I am just gonna play some music and you can watch me smear paint on some papers. Like I said, no rhyme, no reason, just paint. Now that you've had fun painting all your papers, set them aside, let them dry, and then we're going to go do the exact same thing using the stamps and stencils that we bought. And I'm just using the ink pad that I bought. It was $2. It was cheap, so I'm not worried about ruining this ink pad or anything like that. This stencil is kind of cool because it actually has a little bit of a sticky side, so it sticks down so that it does not move around when you're trying to stencil, which is really cool. None of my other stencils do that. And I didn't buy like a stamp block or anything. I'm just using the plastic that the stamp came on. I'm not trying to get a perfect transfer. I'm not trying to be perfect about any of it. I'm just stamping until my heart's content. Like I said, this is, the more unplanned it is, the better it will turn out in the end. So, you can just watch me stamp away. Are you still with me? We're on to the next step. We're assembling our notebook. As you watch me fold the pieces of paper in half, I will tell you that you did not have to stop where I stopped with stamping and stenciling. If you had a magazine at home that you liked, you could tear images out of the magazine that strike you, or words or phrases, and you go through your pile just like you did the stamping, stenciling, and painting. You don't think about it, you glue stick it down, anything that strikes your fancy, and you just keep going. And that makes it more kind of like an art journal that you can then later journal on if you want. But for the sake of this journal, I just stopped with the paint and the stamping and the stenciling. So I am just folding my papers in half, and then I am nesting them. As you can see, I'm trying to kind of mix them up so there's not a whole bunch of one kind in a row, so that when I'm flipping through the pages in my journal, it's varied. You can kind of see. And there's no art to this, it's just mixing it up. And you can see that all of your papers don't have to be uniform. You can choose things of different shapes, different sizes. Some can be really narrow and thin. They all don't have to be the same width. And I almost like that because it adds more variety to your journal, so it doesn't look boring. It's got personality and pizzazz, and that's what we want. So, just piecing all of these papers together. I like how there's the combination of, ripped out notebook paper and construction paper and paper with my kids' drawings on them, and then paper from that notebook that I liked, the calligraphy notebook. You can see where when you add things that inspire you, that make you happy, that it could just be super cool. Especially like if you were going to make this into a journal about your favorite recipes, like a recipe journal. You could do get a vintage cookbook from Goodwill for a couple bucks and use papers from that. See what I mean? How it can go in any direction. When I finished this, I really liked how it turned out, and I thought with the stamps that I chose, it would be kind of a cool travel journal with the camera stamp and the bicycle. You could put in a lot of things from your travels, like, ticket stubs for museums or things that you went and saw. You could glue in pictures. You could write little blurbs about things that you did, and you'd have just a little journal about your vacation, which I think would be super cool. One of those pieces of scrapbook paper, the kind of vintage floral one, I thought was really pretty, and so I decided to make that my cover and glue it to my cover. Even though I had already painted on that envelope, I didn't care. That's what journaling is. You just add layers, and if you don't like something you did, well, shoot, cover it up. So I am spreading around Eileen's tacky glue and then just gluing it on the cover of that envelope. And we're not looking for perfection here, we're just slapping it on. You can tell I do a lot of things with my hands. That's half the fun of journaling, art journaling, junk journaling. Just get dirty, get your hands dirty, painty, gluey. It all washes off in the end. And I'm just trimming it down. And when you're all done making this, you can cover the outside of that envelope with packing tape to reinforce it and to kind of make sure that things don't peel up. I don't show you how to do that in this video, but if you have questions about it, by all means, just let me know. It's pretty self-explanatory. Clear packing tape, which you can also get at the Dollar Tree. Now I'm sticking in those papers that I nested all together inside the cover, and you can see how it's starting to form a book, a journal. Now I'm using the washi tape that I bought just to add some more decoration. If you've never used washi tape, it's like decorative tape. You can use it for anything. And I like to use it to decorate journals and to stick things into my journals, stuff like that. And so you could not just put this on the cover, you could go throughout all the pages of your journal and stick pieces of washi on there, or use the washi that you got that coordinates to put in pictures or tip-ins. And if you don't know what a tip-in is, I'll link a video where I show you how to make those in the description box below. You're just learning so much today. So this washi tape is really cool. It's just another pattern, but since we kind of stuck with the same color theme, it all sort of goes, I don't know, in kind of a mishmash way. And I like this turquoise. I think it says, I can't remember what it says, life is good or something like that. And I just liked bringing out the turquoise and like the turquoise little flowers on that floral piece of paper. And we can't forget the back of the cover. Sometimes you can have problems with washi staying down, staying stuck. And in that case, you can always reinforce it with, run a little glue stick on it before you slap it down. And it also, that's where the packing tape on the top would come in handy as well. Now I'm going to show you how to bind it all together. So you find the middle of your nested papers with your cover on the outside, and then clip it all together. These big binder clips are helpful because they hold your papers tight. I only had one, so on the other side you can see that I used a bobby pin. Not the sturdiest thing to use, but it works. And then you need a sharp object. I happen to have an awl because I've done bookbinding before, but it's just a sharp point. And you find the middle on the crease and kind of drill a hole in the middle, and then towards the bottom, and then one towards the top. I'm not getting out a ruler, I'm not measuring, I'm just eyeballing it and using my gigantic muscles. All right, and then I lift it up and kind of work that all in to kind of loosen up those holes a little bit more. Sorry, I didn't really get in frame there. We're just kind of trying to make those holes open so that I can thread some ribbon or string or whatever you want to use to bind it. I didn't count that in the supplies that you need because I figure everybody's got some sort of string or something, you know, that you could use to bind this together. I just got that ribbon from Michael's on the clearance bin a long time ago, and I just threaded it through a needle difficultly and I'm just pulling off probably like 1.5 feet or 2 feet maybe length, cutting it off, and then I will show you how to do a simple binding stitch. You start from the inside and go to the outside cover of your journal with your needle, and don't pull it all the way through. Leave probably a 3-inch piece of ribbon or string on the inside, and then go either to the top or the bottom hole, it doesn't matter, and come back towards the inside of your book. You have to really pull that needle. It's kind of a tight fit with all the papers. And then you go back out through the middle towards the outside cover. This was taking a lot of muscle, so I'm sorry about the amount of movement that it's taking me. And then kind of tighten it up by pulling on both ends, and then go back towards the middle through the remaining hole in the top or the bottom, depending on where you start. So you end up back in the middle where your free end is, and you're just going to tie a knot. I slip the needle in kind of through the middle, and then, oh, if my head wasn't in the way, you could see me tie the knot. Take your needle out and then just tie a knot with those 2 loose ends, and tie it in both directions so that it doesn't come untied, and I just leave the ends because I like the way that it looks with them hanging out kind of free. If you want, you can clip them. I wouldn't clip them too short, but like I said, I like how it looks with them hanging. I took off the clips, and there you end up with your bound book. Like I said, I think this would make the cutest little travel journal. You could make it a craft journal where you record craft projects that you've made, or knitting projects, quilting journals. If you're a crafter, I think that journals like this would be an amazing way to record all of the projects that you've put so much time and effort into. Also recipes, stuff like that. I'll come back with another video and tell you about some things that we can do with these when we're all done. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you. Please subscribe.